Germany did not fail. It was given a pre-prepared script, told that these words would lead to prosperity, stability, and dignity. And it played its part brilliantly. Everything was going according to plan. Every single signal was followed. But someone else was rewriting the ending. This isn't a story of incompetence. It's a story of something far more disturbing, a system that worked exactly as it was designed to, but not for the benefit of those who trusted it most. If you think this is unique to Germany, you're sorely mistaken. What happened here is a pattern, a subtle mechanism that redistributes risk, undermines certainty, and convinces society that retreat is a virtue. The German middle class didn't collapse overnight. It was gradually eroded by policy choices that seemed logical individually, but when combined, formed a perfect trap. And here's the point. The same structure exists in Britain, France, Japan, and Canada. Anywhere an advanced economy has decided that finance, services, and flexibility can replace industrial wages and energy security. Germany's story is the clearest example. You can see every detail. So, if you want to understand how a prosperous nation can become uncertain about its future, not through war or revolution, but through spreadsheets and treaties, this is where you start.
Let's go back to the beginning, to the promise. After reunification, Germany emerged with something rare, a working social contract. Not perfect, not ideal, but solid. Here's what it offered. If you worked in manufacturing, engineering, or skilled trades, you received a fixed wage, good benefits, the ability to own a home, start a family, and retire with dignity. Not a luxury, but a right. The model was simple. Export high-quality goods, import cheap energy from Russia, and use the profits to fund strong labor protections, training programs, and social security. Everyone knew their role. This wasn't exploitation, it was a production cycle. Workers had bargaining power, companies reinvested, and capital remained close to the source of value. And this model worked for decades. The implicit promise was if Germany maintained its competitiveness, its quality, and avoided waste, its people would share in the profits, not equally, but clearly. That was the agreement. For a generation, these assumptions held. But behind the scenes, the assumptions were changing. Energy would remain cheap. Trading partners would remain cooperative. The Eurozone would distribute the gains fairly. China would remain a customer, not a competitor. All these assumptions were on the verge of collapse. And when they did, the costs would not be borne by those who made the decisions, but by those who believed the promise.
Betrayal isn't the right word if you're thinking of villains plotting in a room to do harm, but it is the right word if you understand capital flows. Because what happened to Germany wasn't a sudden shock, it was a gradual shift of incentives, risks, and rewards away from its industrial hub and toward places that offered nothing in return. First, energy. German leadership made a choice: phase out nuclear power, increase reliance on Russian gas, and promote renewables before there was storage capacity or a functioning electricity grid. Every decision was morally motivated, clean, progressive, and forward-looking. But from a capitalist perspective, here's what happened. Energy costs for industry rose, reliability declined, and companies that needed power around the clock began looking for other sources. The risks of this shift? German households and employers bore them. The profits from selling turbines and solar panels? Exported. The geopolitical leverage resulting from dependence? Granted to Moscow. German workers didn't vote for higher electricity bills, but they paid for them. The euro was supposed to increase efficiency, and it did, at least for exporters. Germany sold machinery, cars, and chemicals across Europe without the risk of currency fluctuations. But there was a price no one mentioned. Southern European countries couldn't devalue their currencies to compete, so they had to borrow. They lent to German banks, and the economy ballooned. When it collapsed between 2008 and 2012, it was German taxpayers who suffered, not by choice, but by necessity. At the same time, trade with China accelerated. Germany sent advanced manufacturing equipment, and China responded with finished goods, often using German technology. Intellectual property flowed eastward, while profits remained meager. The German middle class wasn't asked whether this was a good deal. They were simply told it was inevitable. After reunification, Germany implemented labor market reforms, Agenda 2010. The goal was flexibility. The result was a massive expansion of precarious work, part-time jobs, temporary contracts, and a fragmented service sector. Wages stagnated despite increased productivity. The gap between what workers produce and what they earn widened. Where did this surplus go? Some went to shareholders. Some went to corporate reserves. Most simply left the country through trade surpluses that were never reinvested domestically. For years, Germany had the world's largest current account surplus. This meant it exported more value than it received. This appears to be a success on the surface until you realize this is your purchasing power locked in foreign assets instead of circulating in Dortmund or Dresden. As domestic growth slowed, German banks sought foreign returns. They invested heavily in high-risk U.S. mortgages, Greek debt, and Italian bonds. When these bets failed, Germany suffered losses. The gains were already realized elsewhere. Again, risk was generalized and rewards were privatized. This is betrayal. Not a conspiracy, but a structure in which every individual decision seemed justified, but the overall result was a gradual transfer of risk from capital to labor, from businesses to households, from resilience to vulnerability. And the middle class bore the brunt of it all.
So, if German workers bore the risks and costs, where did the benefits go? Let's be more specific. Foreign producers. China built entire industrial sectors using German machinery and training, then outcompeted German manufacturers with lower costs and government subsidies. This technology transfer was called a partnership. The result was displacement. German exports to China peaked, then plateaued, then declined. Not because Germany lost its competitiveness, but because the student no longer needed the teacher. Financial intermediaries. Every time Germany had a trade surplus, there had to be a middleman, banks, asset managers, and offshore funds. They charged commissions on entry and exit. German savers received near zero returns on their deposits. Meanwhile, the same capital, channeled through Luxembourg or London, earned double-digit returns. For someone else. Geopolitical actors. Germany exploited its energy dependence. The United States benefited from the tightening of security spending. The reduced number of tanks in Europe increased reliance on NATO, giving it greater leverage in trade and technology negotiations. Even the European Union itself benefited structurally. Germany became the lender, the bondholder, and the linchpin. Lucrative roles for banks and heavy burdens on taxpayers. Executives and shareholders. German companies maintained their profitability, but look closer. The profits came from cost control, not expansion. Wages were curbed, investment was postponed, dividends were withheld. Executives did their jobs, shareholders received their payouts, but the industrial base, new factories, new R&D, new well-paid jobs barely grew. A heavy cinematic pause. Herein lies the crux of the matter. None of these actors broke any rules. They responded to incentives and maximized their profits. The problem wasn't greed, but a system that made extraction logical and reinvestment risky. Germany's middle class wasn't betrayed by evil. They were betrayed by calculation.
Let's put it simply.
sold as reducing your power. They were sold as making the economy more dynamic. Each policy came wrapped The people making these decisions weren't ignorant of the trade-offs. They knew wages would stagnate. They knew energy costs would rise. They knew trade surpluses meant deferred consumption. They made those choices anyway because the incentives, political, financial, institutional, pointed that direction. This is the betrayal, not malice, not conspiracy, but a system where the people bearing the costs had no mechanism to redirect the benefits back toward themselves. Democracy existed, but the policy space was constrained by treaties, central bank mandates, and trade commitments that were functionally irreversible. You could vote, but you couldn't vote to leave the euro, renegotiate energy contracts, or reshore production. The choices that mattered most had already been made, and the people who made them, technocrats, ministers, central bankers, faced no direct accountability to the workers whose wages stagnated and whose futures dimmed. Germany's middle class was sacrificed on the altar of institutional continuity, not dramatically, quietly, decade by decade, until one day they looked around and realized the promise had been broken so gradually they never noticed when it disappeared. So, what do we take from this? Germany's story is not unique. It's a warning. It shows how an advanced economy can hollow out from within, not through revolution or invasion, but through the patient, rational application of policies that serve everyone except the people who produce the value. And the scariest part? It all looked reasonable at the time. Every choice had a justification. Every sacrifice had a moral frame. Every betrayal wore the mask of progress, which means it can happen anywhere. And if you're not watching the capital flows, if you're only listening to the rhetoric, you won't see it coming.
until your own wages stop rising, your own housing becomes unaffordable, and your own future feels like something that belongs to someone else. Germany trusted the system. The system had other priorities.